Amin, amin, ya rabbal alamin. Brothers and sisters, for your information, today's workshop aims to help all of you gain the confidence to start writing or to improve your writing skills. So through this workshop, the aspiration of the National Islamic University of Malaysia in producing better quality intellectual, professional and scholars by integrating the qualities knowledge as one of the components to serve as agents of comprehensive and balanced progress as well as sustainable development in Malaysia and in the Muslim world. So we also believe that this program could help in preparing the students with relevant skills, mainly in writing, which might contribute to their employment and future career prospect opportunities as part of SDG 4, which is quality education. So without hesitation, I want to invite our speaker for today, Sister Ida Nadira, to start our event and workshop today. So please be welcome. The floor is yours.
Okay, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good evening. Hi, my name is Ida Nadira and I'm actually bukan head editor lah, editor saja because we have other senior editors than me. So I'm the editor at Selangor Journal. Before we begin, I will just briefly introduce myself. I've been with Selangor Journal for about coming to 3 years now. And prior to that, I was with Malay Mail, I think about 5 years. And I started off my career in journalism at Malaysian Digest, which is no longer there. So IIGM is actually my alma mater, if you want to know. Previously doing, sorry. Previously I was majoring in BENA, but before that I was also in CAET doing interior design before I jumped to doing literature because I really enjoy writing. So that's why I felt like after 3 years in doing interior design, I felt like it's not really my thing, so I switched. So yeah. Okay, now, thank you very much for having me. So today we're going to talk about creative writing, but my focus is mainly on feature writing. So I hope that by the end of this session that you guys get a gist of, not just a gist, but you guys get an idea of what feature writing really is. Because it's like a branch of creative writing. It's not exactly creative writing per se because it has its limitations, but it's part of it. So feature writing is, especially if you are interested in writing for like the university's newsletter or something, somewhere along those lines, feature writing is what you should be looking at. And creative writing is more broad, you know, because creative writing, when we talk about creative writing, it consists of fiction, creative non-fiction, poetry is also creative writing, script writing. So all that is in creative writing. So tonight, we'll focus more into feature writing. Okay? Can we? You guys can hear, right? Along the way, if you guys have any questions to ask, you are very much welcome. No worries. But before I go in, you guys are coming from different kuliah, is it? Or mostly like from communication, or is it like different? No. Okay, all right. Can we go to the next slide? Oh, okay. All right. Okay, so first off, I think, okay, I don't think it's right for me to assume that everyone knows exactly what creative writing is, but just an overview. Creative writing is basically you are trying to get the information across in a creative manner, okay? Whether it's your emotions, your thoughts, or a story of any kind, but you do it in a creative way. So that's why it's called creative writing, okay? It's also a form to share knowledge and to keep track of important events. And it's a form of expression. So like I said just now, like I mentioned, creative writing consists of poetry, script writing. So you can tell from poetry and script writing is a different form of writing. You are free to express yourself however you feel fits when it comes to those kind of writing. Okay, can we go to the next slide? All right, because my background is mostly in journalism, so I will be sharing how the aspects of feature writing based on a journalism background. But first, I will just briefly go through the three types of writing, which is journalism writing, academic writing, and creative writing, and so that you get a gist of what the differences are between the three. Okay. Can we go to the next slide? Is there anyone here from journalism course? Ada tak?
Yeah.
Ada. Okay, so basically if you're in journalism, I wasn't from journalism background. So basically I learned how to write news reporting when I started my career. And yeah, so I had no idea about inverted pyramid and all that until I started working. But basically, when you talk about journalism writing, it's you are talking about facts. Okay, you're talking about current events, truth, and a lot about knowledge and information. So when you stray from this, that's where you get misinformation, false information, false news, right? So the gist of journalism writing is you have to stick to the facts. You cannot. Opinion writing is something else. News writing, basically, you cannot exert your own opinion into the story. That is entirely wrong. When you report, you have to report. So that's why, as you can see nowadays, you know, the public are quite smart, so they can tell like when there are news agencies that try to put in their opinion or their agenda into the story by the style of their language and stuff like that. But that is not what journalism writing is supposed to be. Okay, it's more structured and it's based on facts and it's basically updated writing lah. Okay, can we move to the next one? Is academic writing. So I'm pretty sure most of you are aware about academic writing because you guys are all in UIE right now. And very straightforward. I mean, not to say very straightforward, but it's different. You know, you don't go using that much, not to say that much creativity, yeah, more or less, because you have to stick to delivering the data and the information and the knowledge in your writing. Basically the goal is to give information and it is not to entertain, which is why maybe some people find that academic writing is quite boring. But if you get a hang of it, it's actually not so bad, you know. So it's more about giving accurate facts and figures. So this is very different from creative writing because can we move to the next one? Because next slide, please. When we talk about creative writing, it is about entertaining your reader. It's about capturing the attention of your reader, of your audience. Creative writing, of course, it's subjective. It depends on each person whether they find that this is entertaining, this is boring. But basically, when you write it, you write in your mind to entice your readers, you know. So it includes much on art, fiction, and imagination. So you have to use a lot of imagination and creativity. There is freedom in your writing. And like I mentioned before, is writing for expression. So like you leave out literal meaning. So you are free to use hyperbole, you know, all those figurative writing. And it can be also considered as an original piece. Yes, because it's your own. Okay, just just to go through with you hard news versus soft news. So why is, because I want to touch on feature writing, basically from a news, a journalism perspective. So when you talk about feature writing in a newsroom setting, you're actually talking about soft news. It falls under soft news because you focus on a theme or a subject, rather than if hard news, you follow that inverted pyramid concept, right? Because you basically focus on current events and it's very timely. That means when hard news is what is going on at that time, right? Compared to soft news, and it's straight to the point. Are you guys aware of the inverted pyramid? Yeah. Okay. So basically, inverted pyramid. Let's say if you go to a press conference and there's an announcement. So from the announcement, you have to extract what is new. So usually, when you are in the media, you would need to do actually, you need to know basically, especially if you are a senior, you're already aware. If you are in crime desk, you already know what's the latest stories. If you're in general news or politics, then you know what's the latest updates. But if you don't, you need to look it up so that you don't go briefing your editor saying, "Oh, this thing is new," but then it turns out that it has been reported, because most of the time they don't want to report the same thing twice. So you need to know what is the latest news and how that will go up. And then it will go down to the subsequent paragraphs with additional facts. And then the least important information, closes story. Usually we call it a background. So sometimes, okay, you have, like, for example, we're talking about BREAM, announcement about BREAM, how much and whatnot, and then we open the quotes, and then we end it with when did BREAM start, or something like that. So soft news, it focuses more on the personal. It's less timely. Where I'm working right now, Selangor Journal, okay, we actually focus a lot on policy-related news. We are not like other mainstream media where we are chasing the controversies, where we are chasing the clip. We focus on clickbait headlines. No, because usually these kind of hot stories, the mainstream media would play it, and they do it for a reason, because they're competing with each other. But Selangor Journal, we are actually under the Selangor state government. So a lot of our story is actually focusing on the policies that has been formulated by the state government, so that this information gets out to the people. Why the state government has this is because whether you like it or not, policy news is boring. A lot of people don't really want to pay attention much on policy news. Even like if you see, like the state government, they do a lot of initiatives and programs, but the one that we'll be covering is us, because other media just won't come unless, okay, they want to meet with the MB and they want to ask them something, then they'll come, but then they will only report on that part. They won't really focus on the policy news. So I want to give you an example. Okay, we have a daily portal and a monthly paper. So I want to give you an example for our monthly paper. In May, our May edition, we published this one story called All Eyes on the Moon. So it's basically about ruqyah, baca bulan kan untuk apa tu? What you call it? Hari Raya kan. So we interviewed the Mufti of Selangor, Dato' Anhar Opir, and it was an interesting piece, basically him telling the details of how the process is and everything. But as I mentioned, our focus is not on delivering current something, because if other media, I'm pretty sure if they interviewed him and they got information, that would be the first story that came out. Because if you read our story, our last para says that the Mufti Selangor actually told us that there is a high possibility that this year we will be able to see the new moon. So basically, we already knew that Raya is going to be early, but we didn't report it because that was not our main priority. Our main priority is actually to tell the public, okay, this is what Ruqyah is and everything. And plus, it's not our place to basically, because because we are under the state government, so there's a hierarchy, there's a, not to say bureaucracy tau, tapi you perlu hormat lah who is supposed to announce that. Although, personal views aside, but we just have to follow as is. But what I'm trying to say is that is the difference. If it was a news article and you get this kind of information, obviously the first thing you would report is, okay, Mufti Selangor kata tahun ni kita akan nampak bulan awal. So Raya mungkin akan awal. But we did not report that. Our focus was not that. Our focus is something else. But we did put that in there because he did mention that thing, So that is basically the difference between hard news and soft news. Did you guys get that? Do you understand? Yes? Okay. All right. Yes? Tetekan. Okay. All right. Okay, so feature writing, not far off from creative writing because it's part of creative writing. So it's basically to humanize, to add color, to educate, to entertain, and to illuminate. So add color, when you say add color, usually in journalism, we will call these kind of stories color story, because you add color to the story. Sometimes even if it's a news piece, sometimes it's very dull, like macam contoh, Najib comes to court for his trial. So in the morning, you want to report that he comes, but it's very dry to report. It's just that. So you add some color. You mention, he came suited in a blue suit, with his wife by his side. Those are all colors, So, but in feature writing, when you talk about all this stuff, is basically it may or may not be tied to current event. Okay, so what do I mean by may not or may not be tied to current event is basically when you write feature writing, it can be on anything. Like I mentioned just now, it has to be on a theme. So basically, if you want to talk about someone or you want to talk about a certain subject, it doesn't have to be current, Maybe you want to talk about the late Tan Sri Khalil Ibrahim. Yeah, it's quite current that he passed, but maybe like 5 months down the road, you want to write about him. It's fine, you can, So that is feature writing, and it will usually be longer than a traditional news story. So traditional news story, sometimes usually news agency like to count their articles by paragraphs, but I like to count by words. So for daily news, usually we write about minimum 300 to 400 words, up to 600 words. The 600 is actually quite a lot already. 600, you can already write a one-page feature for the newspaper. Okay. So usually it's longer than news story. And then in feature writing, you can use it when you want to explain, expand, and analyze any previous stories. Like, for example, like I mentioned just now about the late Tan Sri Khalid. So you want to go further about his early life, or maybe about his contribution to the state government. So that is a form of feature story. Profile of a person, document a trend in society, or create a how-to guide. For example, like how do you do this thing or something like that lah. But basically, okay, do you get where I'm going with this? Because I thought nanti if I go further, macam you guys are like confused.
I think feature writing is more like we write a story, or our writing is based on human interest. Is that so?
Yeah, usually it's human interest punya ni lah, to, like I mentioned, to humanize kan. So it's human interest. It's to capture the you can give information, but how, so apart from actually all kind of writing, basically you either bagi information to your reader, tapi how do you deliver that information? That's how it differs kan. Like for news writing, is very direct. Okay, you give information in a very direct sense and a very concise sense. You don't go into so much details. But in feature writing, maybe you zoom in. Like let's say macam you talk about for example, we want to talk about the MRT project. Okay, recently there's an announcement about this. So maybe you want to zoom in further. You want to go talk to the head project, get him to go into detail, like how long, how much it costs, and then how many people work into it. So that is basically what feature writing. I give you an example about of feature writing in news. The 2017 SEA Games. SEA Games. Yeah, SEA Games. That was which we hosted in 2017. So that is a very direct sports news, right? When you go, usually the sports reporters will go and report it directly, like, okay, who won, this and that and whatnot. And then you have the human aspect of it when you go and interview the athletes themselves. But you're not confined to that only, okay? Beyond all that, beyond the sports, beyond the athletes, there are the health workers, there are the supporters. So these are actually stories that you can do as well. Like, for example, you go and call the person who's in charge of the medical team during SEA Games. And you get a very interesting color story there. Like they will tell you about like who's involved, how many officials, how many doctors, where are their their centers can, and then the process. These are things that people are not aware, So sometimes we focus so much on the main event that we forget that there are actually human factors behind this event itself. So macam the band, the school bands yang take part during the opening. So itu semua part of feature writing punya tema-tema lah, especially when you talk about current events, if you want to talk about current events. And then, what else do we have as example? Yeah, is that clear? Boleh dapat. Okay. Okay, so like I mentioned just now, okay, these are some types of feature writings. So like I said, there's personality profiles. Personality profiles are like semi-biography, okay, of someone who's newsworthy. Like, for example, if you want to feature a story about Professor Khoo Kay Kim, very notable figure. And then you can also focus on historical feature. You can narrate about evolution of something, of a place or a celebration or a culture. Like, for example, when you want to feature about Merdeka, what we did for our Merdeka edition is, instead of focusing on the event itself, we interviewed the late Saiful Bahari, who composed Negaraku and also lagu Nuri Yang Maha Mulia, lagu Selangor. But because he's not here, so we interviewed his daughter instead. And that is one way to look at it. So basically, feature writing is not about focusing on that particular thing. Okay, for example, if you want to, let's say, mental health day, mental health awareness day. So instead of you just talking about what is mental health, giving awareness about mental health, you can talk to NGOs who are involved in this, or you can talk to groups lah, basically kan, or agencies that actually organize some initiatives of how to help people who have mental health problems. So that is some example. And then when we talk about human interest stories, this is, like I said just now, stories involving people, like the one I gave example about SEA Games kan. And then about their troubles, failures, and successes. This one you can see when people do stories, when news agencies, they usually do stories about, especially during the COVID time, they will interview businesses who were affected by the PKP. They will interview people who lost their jobs, you know, and these are all human interest stories, okay? So these kind of stories usually it can help the readers relate to it, because some people may have, it may have happened to you too. I'm pretty sure sometimes you come across a story and say, oh, you know, this actually happened to me, or you can relate to the story. So that's why you call it a human interest story, okay? Because it captures the interest of the people. And then we have trend stories or news features. So this is, as I mentioned just now, it's about mentioning facts from a recent event, but highlights the deeper meaning of the incident. So like I said, Merdeka, you want to highlight about Merdeka, but what kan? Malaysia Day, you nak report pasal Malaysia Day. So you pergilah Pasar Borneo dekat mana tu? Puchong, no, that is Kedai Borneo. I think it's Sri Kembangan kot. You do a story on that, okay? And then, so basically you add variety, contrast from the news. So that the challenge in this is to think of what stories can you come up from one event, okay? Like for example, let's say Sultan Kelantan was going to be the Agong 2017. So you go down to Kelantan, you find what stories. He won't talk to you, so you cari lah jalan lain. You maybe talk to his cook, you talk to the keeper of his what's that thing called, where he keeps all his wild animals, and then those are part of news pictures, features. So and then trendy stories, again, that's part of feature writing as well. And then we have analysis stories. Analysis is basically you dissect problems and describes a solution. Okay, analytical feature. Kalau I boleh bagi example lah. Back then, if I used to cover political events, let's say ada apa tu UMNO punya Perhimpunan Agong. Okay, you report what's been said. What this person say, what that person say, kan, very direct punya news reporting. But bila you dah habis, you wrap it up. You wrap it up. How you wrap it up? You write a feature. Basically, you summarize balik what the issue was. Like the one before COVID, it was when the first time PAS actually flooded the whole of UMNO building. It's the first time you see this Muafakat Nasional thing happening. So you what an analysis from that. Okay, so that is analytical feature. So you it can also betul. Okay, and then travelogue. Okay, travelogue is quite direct lah. So it's describing a place and the kind of people you met during travel. A lot of the examples I gave is actually examples that I sendiri had to go through lah. But so it's things that if you go, when you're out there, you want to write something that you will face if you're interested into writing feature articles. So, contoh for Travelog, a very direct one is if you go to a place and then you talk about the place, what you can do there, what kind of activities is there, what the place is like, what the food is like. But another aspect is, for example, you go to Sabah and then you have to cover the Malaysia Day celebration. So aside from covering the event itself, you go and walk around the Philippine market, kan? You meet the people, you try to talk to them. You know, you'll be surprised what kind of interesting stories you can find. Like maybe you akan jumpa a tailor yang every Malaysia Day orang akan hantar bendera jalur gemilang kat dia untuk buat baju. So you'll get a lot of orders from that. That is human interest story. Okay? And it's a form of travelog because this is people you meet when you're traveling in. Okay, science and sports features, obviously stories that are related to science and sports. Right. Okay, do you guys have any questions so far? No? All good?
Okay. May I have a question, please?
Okay, sure.
May I know regarding the types of feature writing, can we combine in one one writing, like we combine number 1 and number 2 in one writing, or is it good to combine, or kita kena buat satu-satu?
Oh, because dia okay, macam number 1 and 2, it can like overlap with one after another. Okay, sorry. So macam contohnya when you, personality, obviously personality, when you interview personality, someone yang famous kan, tapi human interest is basically when you touch the human side of the story. So kalau orang tu bercerita tentang dia punya personal punya personal punya experiences in their life, that is already touching on human interest punya aspect. So it does overlap over one another. But to say that, okay, you nak categorize macam mana ni?
Maybe because I think maybe if we can combine, so maybe our words will be more tak elok sebenarnya kalau kita combine.
It doesn't, the word count doesn't work based on what is the type. You faham tak? Sekejap Okay, sorry sangat. Okay, dia bukan macam, ni personality, you go on this, and then ni pasal human interest, tak. The types is just basically to identify macam, ni story ni apa. Macam contoh I cakap tadi, travelog. Okay, you pergi Sabah, you find a story, and you talk about Sabah a bit kan. Tapi at the same time, you ada jumpa orang. So dekat situ you dah is already a type of travelog and human interest. Tapi you tak bahagikan the types tau. Okay, there's no like macam, the line is actually blur lah.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Alright. Okay, there's a soalan. Kejap Can we add our opinion in the feature story or it is not allowed? Okay. Kalau feature story lah, in news, I bagi in news punya ni, depends on what kind of story. Kalau misal kata macam analytical feature, you analyze the event, you are allowed to put some of your opinion on that because it's based on your analysis. Betul tak? Tapi if you are interviewing someone, a personality ke apa, then you shouldn't put your opinion, because it should be based on what you get, the information you get. Because once you put your opinion into the story, dia dah jadi lain. Analysis is different. Nama pun analysis, so you are allowed to put some. Macam travelog pun, travelog is based on your experience, observation kan. You observe, so obviously you boleh letak lah. You macam, oh, this place seems very quiet ke apa. That is your opinion kan. You put what you feel into the story. Tapi if it's somehow factual, meaning you interview someone and you get information from them, then best to not include your opinion. Usually feature writing, lagi in news, jarang lah we put opinion into, unless it's an opinion piece. Then opinion piece memang definitely is your opinion. Tapi kalau feature writing itself, macam contoh kan, macam contoh I bagi contoh tadi yang pasal story tengok anak bulan tu, you cannot put your opinion like, okay, the mufti kata there's a high chance kita akan nampak anak bulan this year, and then you letak, okay, kita akan raya awal. No, you cannot put your own summary kan. You cannot deduce what he said and like summarize it. Okay, it actually meant this. Tak boleh. You report it. Basically, it's like reporting. You write it as it is. Apa yang you dapat, you letak. Cuma how you write it is different than news. Where news is very direct, you use words are as direct as you want. Tapi for feature, it gives you more room for creativity, where you are allowed to use figure of speech, can things like that. Okay, is that clear? Okay, all right. Okay, yeah, okay, we can, I think we can. Okay, all right. So, sekejap So, like I mentioned just now, okay, pasal feature writing, it does not have to be written in the form of inverted pyramid. Maknanya, it doesn't have to be the best information on top, okay? But cara you tulis tu at the same time has to be able to grab the reader's attention. When you write feature story, it's not about, it's about what you write, tapi it's more about how you write it. Macam news, your main focus is to attract the readers on what the information is. So apa yang ni you lead, you letak paling atas sekali the attention, the information yang you rasa macam readers nak baca benda ni. Tapi feature writing, you have to know how to put it together without focusing on benda yang you rasa akan paling capture the reader punya attention lah. So that's why in feature writing, headlines is very important. It's very important. Kejap I'm very sorry. Kejap. Okay, right. Okay. So in feature stories, it lets you add in details that are not just said, but it's also seen. Like I mentioned just now, kalau macam travelog, it doesn't allow you, you don't have to just write about what you talk about people, but you can also write about what you see, what you feel, and all that. So more common in feature writing are to add direct quotes, and then observations and more background information. Yes, more background information is very important. Okay, one thing lah kan, when you enter the newsroom, one thing that they will teach you is not to say that we undermine our readers, but the key to when you're writing your story is to tell yourself that the audience is less informed. They don't know much. It's not, like I say, it's not to undermine them, but when you keep this in mind, you will remember to put more information in your story. You won't assume macam, reader tahu ni, so you don't put in the details that they should be knowing. So when you do that, nanti your story banyak lopong. okay, you'll have information yang tak mencukupi. So that's why it's important to always keep in mind that the readers won't necessarily know. Macam contoh, okay, contoh kalau if you are writing headline, avoid acronyms that are not familiar. Okay, kalau MRT, LRT, those are familiar acronyms you can use. Tapi macam tiba-tiba you nak letak WTP, some people will go like, what is the WTP? Kita dalam news kita tahulah WTP tu apa. But do our readers know? So we have to spell it out. We have to put water treatment plant so that they know. You letak WTP, not everyone knows. Okay, because it's not something that people commonly use. Like macam TVET, people know TVET. So you can put so that you know the headline won't be so lengthy. Aside from acronyms, yes, acronyms lah yang penting kalau dekat dalam headline. So always remember that when you write in the mind in your thought that okay, my reader dia tak tahu. Even they know, but you just assume they don't know. So that when you do that, you will train yourself to put as much as information you can into your story. Okay. Sekejap ya. Okay. Sorry. Can I know when is the break?
It start now. Yeah.
Okay. Because anak I tengah menangis macam apa. So we can take a break kejap boleh?
Boleh.
Okay.
Can I say something for the break?
Boleh. Sure.
So I'm going to say thank you to our speaker for the insightful knowledge that have been shared for now. So can I know about all our participants? Did you guys have a good understand about what have our speaker have said? And do you guys still hear? Or
Yes.
so we're going to have our short break for a while for our speaker. So I continue to our second session later. Okay.
Thank you.